So today, guys, we're going to address the comments section. I'm going to share with you some of the most crazy comments I get on here, right from the most comical thing up to the most heated arguments. Stick around. This will be really entertaining. So for the record, 99% of the comments I get from you guys is all really positive stuff. I really enjoy getting them. My channel's not that big that I can't respond to all the comments on the channel. It's also known as a shit talking box at some point. So stick around. I'm going to share some of that with you right now. So the very first one I'm going to bring up here is something that it goes way back in the channel. The very first video I uploaded on YouTube was my car idling in the garage, and it was about 10 degrees Celsius that day. It was super cold. I had the garage door open, and you could see the humidity coming out of the tailpipes on the car, and it was a young fellow. I assume he sent me a comment, and he says, geez, I don't know. He says, you've got a serious problem with your car. My grandfather's been a mechanic all his life, and he's telling me that you've got a blown head gasket on your car. I assume this guy's from a warm climate or something, that he's never seen exhaust come out of the tailpipe. There's no blown head. I tried to explain it to him. He wasn't getting it. Anyway, that was one of my very first earliest comments, and it went back and forth, and the guy just wasn't hearing me. Anyway, Big Block Idol, that was the very first weird comment I got on the channel. There was one I did here of Gary's 427 Nova. It was a shorts video, and the response I got from that one is the fella said he needed a gym sock. Well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Autotopia LA, they posted a video of a huge crash that took place on their channel. It was a ride and drive deal, and they lost brakes in the car and crashed it. And one fella, I posted a video on this, as a lot of YouTube channels did, just my response on that particular crash. And there was one fella that actually posted a comment, and he went on to say that how he had an 86 Camaro and he had no rear brakes in this car, and he put in a detailed description of how you stop that car properly without any brakes. I appreciate you sharing that, but if your brakes aren't working, you probably shouldn't be driving the car. Anyway, another crazy comment I got on the channel. I posted a video a couple of years ago. It was in regards to 307 Oldsmobile engine. Just me and a couple of buddies, we went over to help a friend. We split the transmission, put the engine on a engine stand so my buddy could work on it, and I shared some detailed information, everything I could come up with on 307 Oldsmobile engines. And the one response I got, or comment I got, was from a fella that said, the big man smoking cigarettes getting cancer. Okay. Well, my buddy Kelvin was helping us that day, and he was smoking a cigarette. And out of that 20-minute video, the only thing the guy got out of that was that he was smoking a cigarette. And another fella responded after that, and he said, you can get cancer from anything from food, drink, and medication. All right. Weird comments sometimes. Now, like I say, 99% of all the comments I get are really good and positive, and I certainly I know that I can tell you that the people that I video cars on there, I video other people's cars, and they appreciate those positive comments. And sometimes you'll get some where people will say, well, why did he put those ugly wheels on there? Or why did he put those headlights on there? Why is it that color? That looks terrible. And it's just, why would you spend that time to actually write a stupid comment like that? Like, get your own car and build it your own way. Sometimes it's really ridiculous. I did one recently. It was called oh gosh, I forget the name now. It was in regards to a rat rod build that showed up at our shop. It was pushed into the shop. It didn't run under its own power, and it was some of the poorest welding and fabrication I'd ever seen in my life. And I got into a heated argument with a guy that said that you know, some people can't afford to build cars that, you know, are nicely. You sometimes you have to look to the cheapest guy next door that happens to have a welder, because if the kids need Pampers, you gotta support your young family. And he said, and I said, well, you know, if your car can't, if you can't fabricate things properly and in a safe manner, and to keep the things safe on the road, then you should shelve the project until you can afford to do so. And he went on to say how, well, maybe you can't afford the time to shelve the project. And this guy wasn't getting it. He wasn't hearing me. He didn't realize that this was a hot rod project. This was not the guy's daily driver that he needed to get to work with. He just wasn't hearing it. And this back and forth banter went on for quite a while. Anyway, another ridiculous comment on the channel. Ethanol. I did a video about ethanol treatment and ethanol in our classic cars. And I did an update video recently. And one fella got super mad at me. I misspelled ethanol on the thumbnail, and he went off the rails on me. I thanked him for pointing out my misspelling error, and I corrected it. And he just kept going on and on and on. It was a long, detailed description of how ethanol is spelled, and the way I spelt it referred to ethanol vinyl or something like that. Anyway, it was a long, heated discussion, and I thanked the guy, and that's all I could do. And I told him, don't get too mad about it, but thank you for your correction. What else we got here? So valve cover racing. So I did some video on valve cover racing. It was a winter thing that the Dragons had at the Dragons Car Club. And one guy, and sometimes these guys will bait you. He asked me a question about valve cover racing. Obviously never heard of it before. It was brand new to him, so I answered as many questions as I can, and he started to get mad. He started to get upset, and his end result was his last comment to me, "What do valve covers do for racing?" Well, I had no response to that. I don't know what I say to that. But he was very upset that we were actually putting wheels on valve covers and racing them. So I had no response for him. And another one in regards to the ethanol, the whole ethanol deal. I talked about how Shell V-Power was the only one left in Saskatchewan that was actually ethanol free. And one fella who actually drives truck for Petrocan, I believe he was a younger fella, he actually even sent me a picture of his truck to prove to me that he actually delivers fuel. And his argument was that the Petro-Canada high test was ethanol free. As far as he was concerned, it even smelt different to him. Everything was different about it. But if you go to a Petro-Canada pump, it'll say that the high test actually contains up to 10% alcohol and ethanol in it. And if it says that it contains up to 10% ethanol, there's going to be some in there. But he argued back and forth that this was not the case, and that he was going to talk to his manager about it. So I hope he got that clarified with his manager. What else? Doug's 66 Corvair. I did a video with a fella who did a front engine conversion on a 66 Corvair. Beautiful car. Got a lot of views on that one. And very, very well engineered. However, in the very first video I did of Doug's Corvair, the fella commented that he was very upset that I didn't actually include what kind of chassis was under there. At the time of the video, I didn't ask that question. That was my fault. I should have asked you know, what he did to actually do that front engine conversion. This guy was really upset that he watched this whole video and in the end didn't know what kind of chassis was underneath this. In the end, I did answer his question, and I said, you know, I apologize and thank you for pointing that out. It was this 86 Monte Carlo chassis that was underneath that 66 Corvair build, and the wheelbases were exactly the same, and that was how he incorporated the rear mounted gas tank. And he had to put a tunnel in the floor, of course, on the Corvair. I explained that to him, and he was still very upset that I neglected to ask that question. That was one of many videos I did on that car, and if he, you know, continued to watch the channel and caught the other videos, he would have, you know, that question would have been answered for him. But even after answering the question, he was still very pissed off at me that I never included that in the first video, and he had watched it all without learning that very important information. Sometimes you got to have thick skin when you've got this channel. 66 Chevelle barn find. This was one we did a few years ago. Very interesting. My buddy Ken, his brother had a 66 Chevelle convertible SS. It was a Canadian build, very rare car. After we did that first video, the very second video I did on that one was we took it to the car wash, washed it up, and then we brought it to a hop night for the first time and displayed it to everyone in Saskatoon. And there was a ton of comments on this one as we washed this car at a car wash, and it was just with sponges and a, you know, the car wash wand, and people were very upset that we would actually do that to this barn find Chevelle. Now, before we actually washed the car, we knew what was going to happen. It was actually going to undergo a full restoration with a full paint job, etc. And guys were commenting in there that we should have not used a rag or a sponge on the car, but we should have used a horsehair brush to knock the dirt off. It had sat for 20-30 years and was covered in all that barn find dust, and they were very upset by that. Anyway, I assured them all that we knew it was going to happen with the car after it got washed, and not to fret that we did not damage the paint in any way, and the paint was not in mint condition, no way, shape, or form. Anyway, very funny that guys would be upset about that. Car show etiquette. I did a video on this, I think it was last summer, and you know, leaving an event is very important that you do so in a respectful manner. And one guy didn't think that that was necessary. He thought it was very important to do a large burnout when you leave a car show. This was very important and should be an entertaining part of any car show that you go to, that you should be able to do a long-standing burnout. I thought that was very comical. He went in great detail explaining why this should be allowed. Anyway, I thought that was comical. What else we got? So, probably the one that stands out the most in my mind as a heated argument I got into was in regards to the Gord Hebert 66 Chevelle build. I was at work when I received this comment, and it was on my coffee break actually. I sat down and I noticed there was a comment on that particular video, and I had done that video probably 6 months prior to that. And now, to clarify, that car, the frame on that car was boxed from end to end, and if you watch the video, it is explained in there, and there's a special kit that was used to do that. And the question, now this guy I think was actually looking for a straight up argument. If he watched the video, he would have had that answer. But his question was, did we do anything different? Because the frame, in his words, the frames on an SS car are different from a small block car. And I said, no, that's not correct. That 66 Chevelle frames, whether it be a 4-door, a 2-door, a 6-cylinder, or a big block car, they're all exactly identical. And he got mad, and it started to go back. Heated back and forth banter, and he kept saying that no, that they were different, and that he was the leading authority on everything 66 Chevelle. And then he actually described what he was talking about. 66 and 67 Chevelles did have a bolt-on bracket from the factory that went from the lower control arm up to the frame. And this was to combat an issue that they had with cracking right below the A-pillar on the frames. However, I've seen those in place, and still some of those frames actually crack even with that bracket in place. So they don't really do much for you. But in this particular frame on this build was boxed from end to end. It was done as good as it could possibly be, and far superior to any bracket that the factory provided as a kind of a makeshift fix later on. Anyway, I mentioned this to my co-worker. Actually built that car and did the frame boxing, and I mentioned that I was in a heated debate with this fella in regards to the video of that car. And at some point, my co-worker Randy, he actually responded to that fella's comments and said, you know, this is what he did and this is the kit that he used. Well, that fella came back and responded to me really super heated, called me stupid, told me I was stupid, I should read my comments and I should read them through, and he says I'm talking about brackets, not about boxing, when in reality the guy actually he's the one that's not reading. He doesn't know who's even posting the stuff. It wasn't me, it was somebody else. And anyway, at that point, that was the only guy I ever had to block on the channel, because he just was going off the rails, that I was actually correcting him, and he thought that he said he had a dozen of these cars, and some of them were big block cars and some of them were small block cars, and that the frames were different, and I kept correcting him and he didn't like that. Anyway, it was pretty entertaining. 99% of the comments I get on here are super good. I really enjoy reading the comments from you guys, and like I say, most of them are super good. You get the odd entertaining comical one. I thought I'd share some of that with you today. It's kind of interesting. This is just some of it. I don't have all of it obviously, but cool, interesting stuff to share with you. Sometimes you got to have thick skin when you got a YouTube channel. Some people get really upset and heated, and I don't know about you guys, but when people come up with stupid comments on here, I picture this unemployed guy in mom's basement banging away on the keyboard with, just upset with life or something, that he would say some of the things that these guys do. Anyway, pretty cool. I thought I'd share that with you guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.